welcome to The Trews. I'm your host, Russell Brand. Subscribe here to The Trews. Whether it's the heroes of 9/11 or Fireman Sam, we all hate firefighters, don't we? They're so annoying. So if they're in any trouble, let's never, ever put it on the news. With me is Matt Rack. What is your job, Matt Rack?
I'm the General Secretary of the Fire Brigades Union, so we represent the vast majority of firefighters in the UK.
Suppose everything's going brilliantly for firefighters in the UK at the moment, is it?
No, it's not. It's pretty bleak. We've had the worst cuts we've ever seen. We've seen 39 fire stations close, 5,000 jobs go, 145 fire engines axed, pay freezes, and our pensions are being destroyed.
Stop moaning. This is obviously something that you think would be of interest to British people. We at the Trews had to go some obscure, weird, foreign channel to find any coverage of what's happening to British firefighters in our country. Let's have a look at that.
Well, now, firefighters in the UK have staged a 24-hour walkout in an ongoing row with the government over pensions and work conditions. Thousands of members of the Fire Brigades Union have taken part in the industrial action.
Well, they care more about it, whoever these people are, they care more about it than the BBC, ITV, any British newspaper. I wonder why that could be.
But Fire Minister Penny Mordaunt has called the walkout completely unnecessary.
Apart from my admiration of firefighters,
saying it could damage the reputation of the service. Pressie's Amina Taylor reports from Aylesbury.
People in England are being urged to be extra vigilant as firefighters once more walk off the job.
Walk off the job? It's like trying to get you to think like, oh, these bloody firefighters walking off the job. Never a bit like walking into a blazing building carrying your beloved child. That's not on the news. That's amazing. How does that make you feel, Matt Rack, when you see that?
Well, I mean, that particular march was a fantastic day, a great show of unity among firefighters in Aylesbury.
What the hell were you marching for?
We're marching because a firefighter, Ricky Matthews, has been sacked by Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service for going on strike. We had a strike at the end of October. 30,000 firefighters across England went on strike. One of them got sacked, and that's Ricky Matthews.
I grew up in the 80s, so I've been trained to think of strikes as a really bad thing. It was bludgeoned into my brain all day long. Yeah. So aren't strikes a really bad thing?
Well, first thing I think on strikes is no worker wants to go on strike. For a start, you lose a day's pay, and people can't afford to lose a day's pay. We're coming up to Christmas. Nobody wants to do that, and they run up to Christmas. I think the fact that people do it shows how angry they are. In this case, firefighters who've paid into pensions, and they're paying £4,000 a year out of a salary of less than £30,000 into their pension, and their pension arrangements are being ripped up, and what they were promised is not going to be delivered. That's why we voted to strike, and that's why they've taken strike action.
The FBU says its members are angry at the government's plans to increase the retirement age from 55 to 60 and increase pension contributions.
Is that true?
That is true, yeah. So currently, because it's a physically demanding job, and there's very high fitness standards, because you're sending people into burning buildings with
that requires good fitness, does it?
It requires fitness.
I'd have thought going into a burning building is a bagatelle, a laugh.
No, it's quite a serious thing, as you can imagine, and to do it safely, you need to meet certain physical fitness standards, and basically their argument is that you can meet the same standards at the age of 60 that you did when you joined when you were 20 or so.
As we all know, time has no impact on the human body.
That's essentially the government's argument.
That seems a bit unreasonable, don't it, Matt, that they expect elderly men, Dad's Army type characters to go into blazing buildings in their 60s and carry people on their backs?
It is crazy. I mean, no doubt there are some people who can maintain that fitness to that level. The government's own report, and they commissioned a report that shows of the current firefighters, at least 2/3 would not meet the fitness standards at the age of 55, never mind 60. So they're just ignoring it. It is a physically demanding job, and if you think about it, you've been sent into a burning building potentially. We've got to rely on each other. Firefighters have got to work in teams. If one collapses or can't work, actually, it doesn't just put them at danger, it puts the other people at danger, it puts the members of the public at danger.
I can see that.
As members stage a national rally to support FBU member Ricky Matthews, who was sacked by the Buckinghamshire service, there was mounting frustration at the situation.
What do you think, Matt, is the important thing for people watching this to understand?
I think that people need to understand why firefighters are having to resort to taking industrial action. It shows the determination they've got. We've beaten the government on the argument for 3 years. They're still not listening, and we've been forced to take industrial action. Also, we highlight in this particular case that people think workers in Britain have got lots of rights. Actually, what it shows that employers have huge power over workers. They can sack somebody just like that, think they can get away with it, and that's why people need trade unions.
I've seen you a lot on the telly, Matt, so I know this is you on much more of a mild vibe. You've got that intense thing that you can do, haven't you? I've seen you go doing that proper...
I can do that, yeah.
This is not just a war on the poor, brothers and sisters. This is a war on the majority of the population in the interests of a tiny minority. It is an agenda on behalf of big business, the banks and the super rich. This is a cabinet of millionaires, a cabinet who don't use public services, who don't need public services, and therefore do not care one hoot about public services.
Why do you think we don't see about this fire brigade dispute on British television?
Well, one, I suppose, because it's gone on for a long time. Two, I think there is a bias against workers, there's a bias against trade unions. Those in authority, those running the media, for whatever reason, don't want people to see that there's people who are prepared to stand up and fight back for what they think is right, stand up to the government against their cuts agenda. I think there's millions of people out there who would want to hear that message.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's not getting across.
I've been speaking to union workers, like for care workers that were formerly with the NHS, now working for private authorities. Yeah. They're getting their wages slashed by 9%. And I spoke to some 0-hour contract workers who are trying to unionise. Everyone is suffering the same thing. Seems like this is a time for solidarity more than ever.
Yeah, I think but when people built trade unions in the first place, people were suffering similar conditions to what you're seeing now. And I think people just have to realise that you don't have to take the crap that is thrown at you in work. You can get organised, stand up for yourself and fight back. And that's what trade unions should be about.
What do you want then? Ricky to get his job back, Ricky Matthews to get his job back, and what's the other stuff with pensions and all that? Justice on our pensions. People to either honour the contract that people signed up to when they joined the fire service, and a pension scheme that actually works, that takes account of the job that firefighters really do on the ground and the physical fitness standards that they have to meet to do that job. How can ordinary people support firefighters?
Well, in terms of Ricky, if people go to our website, www.fbu.org.uk, there are petitions on there. Follow us on Twitter. And in terms of the pensions thing, contact your MP. MPs will be voting on this next Monday in the House of Commons. We've managed to force them into that to have a vote on our pensions. Tell your MP that actually you want a decent settlement for your firefighters. Tell
us about an actual bit of firefighting you've done when you was a younger man, like one that you feel proud of, that makes you seem more heroic and sympathetic.
Yeah, well, I was a firefighter for 22 years in East London, all around this part of the world. And I suppose firefighters don't particularly like talking about particular jobs. And
right, I love boasting. Do some boasting about someone you rescued.
Up the road and turn left, I remember pulling a lady out of a fire once. And
would you have to carry her off on a ladder?
Actually, no, we didn't. We dragged her out of a flat. And clearly, if we hadn't done, she would have died. And the fact that we did means that she didn't die. And that's something you can be incredibly proud of.
It's good, isn't it, to not let people burn to death? I can't believe that it's got to be debated in Parliament. Should we let people burn to death? Aye, no, for shame. But they do all that shouting and everything. Okay, so we've got an opportunity here to support firefighters, people that are prepared to go into blazing buildings to rescue our loved ones. Let's not forget Kittens Up Trees as well, those guys. Support the Fire Brigade Union, join unions yourself. Think of innovative ways of taking direct action. Check out the website that Matt Rack recommended. True News, subscribe here, subscribe here. Would you mind saying subscribe here, Matt?
Subscribe here, subscribe here.
It's not like that when he's up on stage, is it?
Subscribe here.
You bastards!
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some trews. Let's have some trews.